Hey, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody. My name is John. This is Havoc Maker Studio, and today we're going to talk about a great many things Marvel related. Later on today, I should have another video for the Marvel Multiverse RPG, where there's been some updates, and I want to give a second-hand review, or I guess a third-hand review now, or a third review, second review, third review. Having played the game now with a group, using the playtest rulebook that was sent to me, and then I went ahead and purchased a second one, so we had another copy of it. We've got some different opinions from our earlier assessment, and we'll see how that goes. And there's been a bunch of updates that have happened for the RPG, so we'll have that come out a little later on this afternoon, maybe early evening, or depending on how things go, I might just save it for tomorrow. Anyways, watch for it. Make sure you have the subscribe button and that notification bell, so whenever something is uploaded, you get notified. All right, here we go. So we know that for some time, well, we speculated for some time that the Sentinels were going to make it to the Marvel Crisis Protocol game from Atomic Mass Games. When the X-Men were introduced or revealed sometime, I want to say it was last year, there were some images. We saw the Blackbird, which is kind of like the iconic transport of the X-Men. Well, was the iconic transport. Now they've, in the comics, they got this whole gate system and teleporters and all that stuff now. So it's not really front and center, but we saw a Blackbird that might have been just a mock-up, like a prototype, and then we saw the lower leg, really from like about the knee down to the foot, so the greaves and all that, of a Sentinel, and it was a little bit more of the kind of a rounded image, or a rounded armored leg, rather than what we're going to be seeing, or what we saw for the mini extravaganza. So once again, another prototype type model. Hell, it could have just been a toy that they popped down just so they could, kind of tease, hey, this is the future of what we got coming. Unlikely, is probably a prototype. So we did get, during the mini extravaganza in July, we did get word that the Sentinels are going to be coming. We got images of them. These are like 3D mock-ups or 3D images. They don't look like it's actual finished product. It could be. I have a hard time telling. Maybe you guys know for sure. So what we do know about these Sentinels is that it is going to be a box of Sentinels. So this is probably going to be expensive. We do know that it's going to be an affiliation, and very likely the Sentinel Prime, not Prime Sentinel. There is a difference. The Sentinel Prime, which is front and center, we know that the Sentinel Prime is going to be larger than Dormammu. I imagine roughly about the same size, maybe just like a centimeter bigger. But we know that he's going to be larger than Dormammu, and it even looks like it, even though he's in the foreground of the three Sentinels on your screen. And he's likely the only leader. We know that Cassandra Nova, that evil, twisted woman that used the Sentinels to wipe out 17 million, 7 million, millions of mutants on Genosha. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Anyways, she's a very evil woman. And we know that she is part of this affiliation. So technically, with the exception of the two different Sentinels, there's 3 models in this affiliation. Yay. But probably only one leader, which is going to be the Prime, because I doubt they're going to redo Cassandra Nova's card just to make her have the leadership ability for this affiliation. Some other things that we do know is that the models are going to have some ball swivel joints. They're going to come with multiple hand options, and I'm guessing what we're seeing right here is the only hand options. There looks to be 4 different hand options. The fist for either hand. There looks to be 2 different open palms for the right and left, and that's probably it. We know that at least what they have alluded to is that there's going to be some damaged parts. So if you want to have battle damaged Sentinels, that's going to be an option. They might be like little armor plates that you can actually swap out instead of like whole components. Regardless, it sounds like we're going to have a lot of extra parts left over So those of you that have got some X-Men bases or X-Men models and you want to enhance your bases or even save it for some future X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, whatever, you'll have those extra options to help decorate your base, give it a little bit more flair. Even if you've already painted your models and based them, you're going to have extra stuff. You can paint it off to the side, glue it on, and now you got even a more enhanced veteran X-Men or X-Factor, some sort of mutant. So some really cool options that are going to be coming out of this. No idea on the price of the box, but if everything holds up true and they do keep everything in the box, if I read correctly, I heard correctly, and this is one box to rule them all, it's probably going to be hefty. I'm going to bet this is going to be the most expensive box, probably at around $100. So just be ready for that, ladies and gentlemen. So this video is also going to take a look at what the Sentinel Mark IVs, that's the ones in the background, are likely to have in regards to powers and abilities. This is my speculation based on their history and what the Mark IVs can do. I put aside the Mark 1 through 3, didn't worry about those, and a Sentinel Prime, which is the leader, the one in the center. There's not a lot of data on Sentinel Primes. In fact, I can't find any data on a Sentinel Prime. Prime Sentinels, I can. Now, Prime Sentinels are a vastly different type of organism, if you will. In fact, they're are kind of like an organism. It's a melding of a person and a sentinel, like Bastion and Lang. I can't think of his name. Something Lang, not Scott Lang. Anyways, so the Sentinel Prime is not like the Prime Sentinels. It's totally different, but I imagine it's just a leadership cast that has some extra abilities plus the team affiliation abilities. So I don't expect too much out of the Prime Sentinel because it's more like, or the Sentinel Prime, because it's more like a generic leader. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right, let's take a look at some of my speculations. So first up, let's take a look at the Sentinels. We can imagine that they are going to be very durable. So I went ahead and put 4s across the board. I know that Dormammu had some very interesting stats in regards to that. I think he had a 5 in, yeah, he had 4s and everything, but a 5 in Mystic. Now we might see a 5 in the Mystic for the Sentinels because they are immune to being mentally controlled, mystically controlled, right? But they're not they're not invulnerable to somebody's with Windows 10 making a computer virus to save the world. So I leave it at a 4, and I think the 4 in the other 2 for physical and energy is very on point for them. These are walking tanks that are designed to fight people with superpowers. So I went ahead with a 10 health on the healthy side. I imagine it'll drop down to a 6 or maybe an 8 on the injured side. Threat 4, which I know is a little bit lower than what some people might expect. I think there could be a reason, or I guess justification, to go to a threat 5. But remember, this is going to be designed to be in a squad. So having 3 models at a 15 might make it a little difficult to really field them for some missions, which that's, the nature of the game. So I would say a 4 right now, but I could see a 5. I can see justification for 5. In fact, let's just go ahead and make it official. I'm going to say it's going to be a threat 5. Let's just say that. I think there are going to be standard set or size 4 with the exception of the Prime Sentinel, which I imagine is going to be size 5. And we're going to give them a medium movement just because of their stride. I mean, these things are massive, and their stride would put them at about medium movement. Now, in regards to their powers and their abilities, well, we're going to just kind of take it. I don't know even know how to explain it. Let's just dive into it. So we know that Sentinels have the ability to fire out these cables usually from their hands or their wrists, and to kind of bind up mutants. That's how they capture them, so they can study them and then eventually eliminate them. So I went ahead with a range 3 physical attack, 5 damage, 0 power. Normally, I think for this type of attack, you see a hey, if you after the attack is resolved, you get a point of power. I think because of the nature of their abilities, that when this does damage, that they're going to get power equal to it versus the hey, just get a free point of power. The energy blast, they are definitely known for an energy blast. I went ahead with a range 4, 7 dice, and 2 power. This is their spender. Now, before the attack, I went with choose which type of damage attack you want. They are known to adapt and use a wide range of energy attacks, especially when they're fighting mutants. And then we know that their attacks do have a stunning or staggering effect. So I went with the wild symbol. You get a stun. Keep it very simple for these Sentinels. Robot strength, for lack of anything else, we went with a 3 power cost. You can choose a terrain or character within range 2 of size 4 or less and throw it medium range once per turn. That definitely feels like these towering robots can do. I went with something very similar to Rogue's mutant absorption ability, though this might get downgraded a little bit. We're going to call it the learning program because they do have the ability to learn and adapt from previous encounters with mutants. It'll be a 2 power cost, and you're going to roll 5 dice basically, and the target character loses power for every, let's say, wild symbol that you roll. And if they don't have any power, then they take damage. Pretty simple. Just leave it as simple as that. But pretty much like the absorption ability. But in this case, you don't gain any power. Or maybe they do gain the power because we know that they can absorb. Some variations of the Sentinels have been able to absorb power. So I think something akin to her mutant absorption ability is definitely feasible. Now, the last few abilities is I think, almost pretty standard from what I would expect from a robot, and from what we know of the Sentinels. Search and Destroy, we're going to call it a 2 power, and it's going to require an action, and it's one of those great economy of action type of abilities where you can make an attack move, that's my bad. That should say make a move action followed by an attack action once per turn. We rarely see the move and then attack. It's usually an attack and then move. But I feel like since they are Sentinels, they do have the search protocols. They have the ability to detect mutants. They got even searchlights on their body, at least in the lore, that they're going to be searching, and then they'll make their move and then make their attack. I feel like that is making the move followed by the attack is a much better example of lore and who and what they are. Then armored chassis, when targeted by an attack, reduce the amount of damage dealt by 1. I didn't put to a minimum of 1, though that could be a thing. I'm just trying to do something a little different with the Sentinels, but I could see them going do damage to a minimum of 1. It's kind of a standard thing without unless you pay a cost. And then innate powers, we know that they can fly, and being a robot, poison and bleeding are just not going to be effective against a robot. Maybe against the Prime Sentinels, not the Sentinel Prime that's coming in this set, but the Prime Sentinels like Bastion, bleed and poison may work since they are part biological and part cybernetic. So let me know what you guys think about that. Anything I should change? I mean, these are my speculations, so we'll see how right we are. We might get our first taste of the Sentinels later, sometime this week, since Marvel Crisis Protocol, Atomic Mass Games gave us a heads up last week about the Sentinels, just giving us a friendly reminder 1 month after. And since the only other content really that's out there are the Hydra agents and the Johann Schmidt, the Red Skull, Those are the last two character cards that we know they're going to be released not in September like everything else is, but probably October, which leaves us the rest of October, November, December. Now we do know that there's the Blob and Pyro that are going to be coming, but looks like the Sentinels are going to end the. I forgot about the Hydra tank because we know that's going to be an ultimate encounter. But looks like Sentinels are going to take front and center or stage front and center next. So this week we might get an update. I'll be surprised if we actually get a character card this soon, but we do know that we do need to see a character card for the regular Sentinel. We do need to see a card for the Sentinel Prime, plus their Team Tactic card. So that's at least 3 weeks, and they're probably my guess is either on their Facebook page or on their primary page, the Atomic Mass Games page, we'll get an update on the physical model itself to where we can see how the different components are, which would be really awesome because I think that's going to get a lot of people excited. I'm not. I'm kind of. It's kind of a mixed bag. I'm not sure. It's really going to come down to the price tag if I'm going to buy this or not. But I'm definitely kind of excited about them because I really like Cassandra Nova and be able to have her in a team affiliation that's a little bit more fitting than the Cabal is kind of exciting for me. So I'm probably going to buy this. I probably am. Now, and there's many different variations of the Sentinel paint scheme. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do do with these guys. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of my rules, at least my speculation. Am I on the right track? Do you think some of those numbers or those values, or is there a power and ability that I'm just kind of forgetting about and I should be including the Sentinel Prime? I will do later this week. I want to do a little bit more deep diving into the lore and see if I can find an instance of an actual Sentinel Prime versus the Prime Sentinels. Anyways, my name is John. This is Havoc Maker Studio. You guys have yourself a wonderful week, and I'll chat with you later. See ya.